The following episode has been carefully and lovingly reconstructed from a severely damaged digital video recording. Despite occasional pixelation and visual glitches, I believe Doug Cosmo Clifford's interview was worth the painstaking effort to repair. So, I invite you to relax and enjoy my visit with this legendary drummer and sample his fantastic album, Magic Window. And now, I present to you Doug Cosmo Clifford.
I know.
Test, 1, 2, test.
I can hear you, sir. How are you?
Good. I'm good.
Good. Can't seem to minimize. I can't look at my computer and talk to you at the same time.
I can chew gum.
Yeah. I don't have any of your. I should have written down the names of the tracks so that when I refer to them, it's Just Another Girl. I think is one of the
Just Another Girl.
I like that one. That was pretty cool. Everything sounds kind of 80s probably because of the time you recorded all those things, huh?
Well, I go back and forth on that. There are some things that sound that way to me, and then other things that sound like it. We just did it. I mean, it's kind of Creedence is that way as well. You listen to it now, and it doesn't sound like a band from back then, but I think it's the way it was recorded, and I'll tell you the Simmons tom-toms are definitely 80s.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Especially in that track, I did hear that. So I was wondering if that was Simmons or they just sort of however you engineered it. Sometimes they can take real drums in a room and engineer them so they even sound fake. So that's kind of weird.
They were the rage, and I had to have a set of them. Being a drummer, I had to have the actual Simmons drums. So yeah. There
were a lot of things that were in vogue at that time. Maybe we're talking about 85, maybe something like 85, that.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the synth. I don't know exactly what was all the rage in synth back then. People have been, Fairlight synthesizers and Yamaha X. Some of these things are prevalent. You would hear them in every other record that was on the radio. So everybody had to. Yeah.
We used them sparingly. Because we had a really great guitar player, and we left a lot of room for Russell DeShiel, who also co-produced the record with me. He engineered the project as well.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Very handy guy.
I do like to hear, tracks and pick them out, which was my favorite, and I like hits and everything, but I've always been a fan of, putting down the record and listening to the whole thing before I start latching onto a particular song. So
sure.
Yeah, that's probably how you guys used to create that stuff anyway. You just sort of put what you liked and then go record it, I guess.
Well, we had a studio in my house, so it made it very handy for that sort of thing to happen. We weren't looking over our shoulder at the clock thinking, oh, that other group's going to be coming in for their session.
Yeah,
I had a nice setup, 16-track setup, Trident board, and some nice outboard gear.
Beautiful.
So it took the pressure off from the studio side.
Okay. Well, how about we get started? That way I don't hold you up. I want to respect your time, but I heard that you had some stories, so I'd love to hear them if you got them. unless they were talking you up too much. But how could you not? Having worked, with those three guys, and then I'll get all that on the record, but definitely we'll talk about Magic Window, which is really cool. So thank you.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Okay,
that's the opening track.
So we've been sitting here discussing some stuff, sort of pre-interview, but I want to welcome you all to another great show today. You are watching and listening to StrongWriter on the radio. That's my show. I'm your host, Dean Olson, video and podcasts, and I'm very excited to meet my featured guest today. He is a founding member and drummer for the legendary rock group Creedence Clearwater Revival, who I believe recorded 6 albums in a span of 5 years, which is really great. But the music he was a part of back then is still heard to this day on classic rock radio, pop radio, and in TV shows and movies. So their presence is felt in pop culture for sure, probably in perpetuity, who knows. But he is also a songwriter who has a solo project, which we're going to be talking about, 35 years in the making, I believe, called Magic Window. We'll explain what that means, not just Magic Window, but I mean why it was 35 years to get to this point. And what I didn't tell you right now, we'll learn from this man here, because it is with a degree of nervousness and joy that I present to all of you Doug Cosmo Clifford, and he's right over here. How you doing, Doug? It's nice to meet you, sir.
Doing great, Dean.
First of all, happy birthday. I saw that I missed it. You just had it a couple days ago. So
I did. 75 and still alive, so.
Good for you. And before we get to talking about your music, which is Magic Window, I guess we could talk about it for a second before we go into detail about it. But what was the genesis of that? I understand you were cleaning out your garage or something, and you found a master tape and decided to do something with it. Maybe I can have you take it from there.
Yeah, actually, I was up in my studio going through some drawers in a cabinet, looking for a specific thing. At the time, I don't remember what it is now, because what I ended up finding was a lot more interesting.
Uh-huh.
But I found a 2-track, which is 1/4-inch tape, master reel in that pursuit. And I thought, I wonder what this is. So I looked around and I found the box, and it told me what was on the, or inside on the tape. And then I started to think about it, and I said, I should have a lot more of these, because I did a lot of recording. I had a studio in my house. And so I went down to the garage, where I knew there was a locker that I would put musical things. And I opened that up and opened up a box, and there's 10 reels in there. And so
All right.
I looked at the dates on them, and some of them were 40 years old, some of them were 35 years old, and I found a Magic Window, and it was 35 years old, and I said, I wonder if this will play.
Yeah.
And you don't want to take the chance of doing that without an engineer. And I talked to a friend of mine, told him what the situation was. He said, well, we'll have to bake that tape.
Okay, I understand what that is. Yeah.
And I told him that I wasn't making brownies, so.
It's a different term nowadays. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're legal now. I said, so they tell me.
So they tell you.
But he explained to me what it does. If the tape is going to be good, the process will help that along. And if it's not going to be good, there's nothing you can do anyway. So
yeah,
you have a short period of time after the baking process to get it to digital. And once it's on digital, then you're home free. But we still wanted to know if there were any songs that had dropout in it, or any damage done to the tape.
Mm-hmm.
Played flawlessly. I mean,
that's great.
Terrific. And here it is with a little help from Pro Tools. We did a little surgery and added a couple of guitar tracks, and even though it was only 2 tracks, we can do amazing things with Pro Tools. And then we mastered it, and now it's out in the airwaves, waiting for someone to come download it.
Good. I'm glad it happened for you. It's nice that you've. How were you? You said you had it locked up, those tapes somewhere in the.
I had it locked up.
After the studio, you went down to your garage. You said, and you found like a vault or a safe or something for that.
Yeah, it was a locker, and a garage is usually a cool place. Not like cool, but
no, I get it.
A good room temperature for storing things like tape, and I had packed them nicely and put them away. And at the time, I thought, out of sight, out of mind, and it was going to be a temporary place for them, and I would get to the project later. But another one came up, and as the story goes, and things happen. I have kids as well.
Yeah.
Family, because the studio was in my house. Other activities, and you just sort of forget. And I'm really glad I found them.
I know what that's like doing, because I had similar tapes, and did basically that, put put it all on hold. So I put them away. I remember unearthing some of that stuff that I had, and some of that stuff I threw out, not knowing that I could take it to a company and have them bake it, and maybe save the consistency of that tape. But it wasn't 1/4-inch tape like you're talking about. So you had to, first of all, you probably didn't have the right player to play that kind of format. I don't know if you did or not, but
I have a reel-to-reel tape.
Uh-huh.
It's just I have one, a nice older one, and so I'm able to use that machine a lot. And I have other tapes with other. Basically, what it is it's kind of a publishing thing. And what I do is when I write a song, whether I write it by myself or I co-write it, and when I co-write, I only write with one other person. 3, then you start getting the committee effect. 4, everybody is just saying, what am I going to be getting out of this? What's my cut? Well, your cut is get out. So it makes it real easy when there's just 2 of you, and keeps things moving along. But it was all the songs that I was recording. I was either trying to put it together with a band and get a deal for a band, or I wanted it as a songwriter and have it published through my publishing company.
Okay.
So I wanted a master type quality, though, just because you want the song to sound as good as it can sound to somebody who may be interested in buying it, or a company that might want to sign your band. So I had about 100 songs that are all cut and recorded.
All of your own making, right? Not with the other guys. So I think you covered the question I was going to ask. As a natural progression, is like, what was your original intent of making all that music? Were you trying to do a solo project, or see if people shopping around, see if people are interested in a former member of CCR or whatever, or were you planning to release it without that history, or so that people would take you as you were?
Well, I was looking for a record deal as a solo artist. Like I said, some of the things I did have other people singing, because it was a different band scenario. For whatever reason, it never worked out. But this particular one, I was out to try and get a solo deal, and then I would have a record ready to go. And Richard Perry, great producer,
right?
Pointer Sisters, Leo Sayer, had Planet Records back then, and I went to LA with 2 of the songs that are on that album, and they wanted to have me record them down there, see how I did in the studio. I'm pretty good in the studio. I was in one of the biggest bands in the world, and as you said, we put out recorded 6 albums in just a couple of years. 3 albums in 1 year. So I know my way around the studio, but I was there to try and get a deal. I wasn't going to say anything about it. I recorded them, did my vocals, and a week went by, and I got the call, "We're going to sign you." Oh, great! This is terrific. 2 days later, I got the call. Richard just checked himself into rehab. He's had a nervous breakdown, and he's selling his company.
Oh, you got him at that point. Oh, you got him at that point. I remember that stuff going down.
Yeah, that's another reason why I sort of put the tapes away for a short period of time. I was a little bummed out. So
that's great that you. I appreciate you touching on it. It's I had to ask you if that was a factor. The name factor, because I noticed that that period of time, 85, 86. You had the resurgence of people's careers, people in the 60s. You had Eric Clapton, Steve Winwood, John Fogerty, who you worked with, and everybody had like a little solo effort, and they, very successfully so. And it would have been cool to see somebody that we didn't know all of a sudden pop forward. You were kind of in the back, even though you were a big part of that sound. Everybody remembers the drum tracks, which you were part of all of it, right? You went right from the beginning to the end of that recording phase, or that contract, or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah. So everything you hear, all those hits that people have heard on the radio, that's all you still. So no, there wasn't anybody that stepped in between. you and John were like the longest running members of that period, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, but it's always nice to learn a little bit of history and talk with somebody who was actually there rather than read it from second or third hand. But what was the overall? I know that John and Tom, the late Tom Fogarty, they didn't get along so well. They had a love-hate thing going, or what?
Well, not well. It turned into that, unfortunately. We started with the band, myself, Stu Cook, bass player, and John Fogarty started an instrumental trio when we were 13 years old.
Okay.
And Tom was a lead singer in a band called Spiderweb and the Insects. He was 18 years old, but he also was a pretty smart guy, and he wanted to have a career, and he knew that he needed to get a demo. And then you didn't take tapes around; you took acetates and created
records, sure.
And you would record it on tape, but transfer it to the acetate, and that would be the demo you would take to LA and try and get a job.
Yeah.
Well, his band was they were sort of a prototypical group of musicians. When he came in and said, "I've got 2 songs I'm going to teach you, and then we're going to go to the recording studio. I'm going to record them, and then I'm going to drive to LA and try to get a job for us." And they said, "Are we getting paid?" He said, no, this is going to cost me out of my pocket. I'm not asking for any help, but it's going to cost me a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Well, are there going to be any chicks there?" "No, we're going into a recording studio. There's no audiences there." And
so that's two strikes so far.
This is the killer line. So they said, we don't want to do it. We'd rather work on our cars.
Oh.
kind of disappointed in his buddies. He came to us, and he was very supportive of us, and he would come to some of our gigs. And we were an instrumental band, so he would sing.
Hold on, Doug. I lost your audio for a second.
Happened to me on a Saturday. I was on my way to nowhere. Something happened that I can't explain. My life's changed with you there. The kind of moment that you dream about, you wanna hold on forever. Fell in love, or is that obvious? I guess you don't have to be too clever. And it feels like love from where I stand, and I'm reaching out my hand. Don't leave me alone tonight. There's one thing I'm afraid of. You'll be gone in the morning light. Don't leave me alone tonight. 1,000 years from now I'll feel the same. I may be gone, but my love will stay. My love's growing for you every day. It's only you can make me feel this way. And it feels like love from where I am, and I'm reaching out my hand. Don't leave me alone tonight. There's one thing I'm afraid of. You'll be gone in the morning light. to me on a Saturday when I found my way to your heart. You know I need you each and every day. I lose my mind if we part. So don't leave me alone tonight. There's one thing I'm afraid of. You'll be gone in the moonlight. Don't leave me alone tonight. Don't leave me alone tonight. There's one thing I'm afraid of. You'll be gone in the morning light.
I'm sorry, I got you right in the middle of that great that you were talking about, junior high, and you said you were an instrumental band, and then you went to go to the next sentence, and then it stopped. So
Oh, okay. We were an instrumental band, and Tom Fogarty would come to some of our gigs and support, and then he would sing a song or two, and that was really great for the crowd because there was nobody else singing, and he was cool. My older brother beat me up until I could fight back, and then he made me his best buddy. Whereas Tom was the other way around. He was cool. He helped us out. He was very supportive of it. So he said, "Would you back me up in the studio?" We said, "Make a record," and he said, "Well, it's going to be a demo record, but we're going in to do that." We said, "Of course we would." So that's how it started. The process started. So we were learning to play our instruments together as young kids, and then we were learning to record at a very early age. And it took us 10 years before we had our first hit record.
right.
And so,
Wow.
we hung on to the dream. I'll tell you that. We believed in it, believed in ourselves, and went the distance.
Oh, you were barely crossed over the preteen line or whatever. What you have 13 or 14 years old or so, and you're learning you're going into studios and recording stuff. So that's a great thing. That's a good crash course on the music biz, sort of.
Well, it made it possible for us to do what we did and to be very, very responsible and good at it. And we learned by doing a lot of recording. And then as the technology changed, we started doing multi-track stuff. The first thing we did was one track. They put two microphones in the room and hooked it up to a mono setup, and that's how they did it. But that's how it started. And Tom had a wife, a kid, 2 kids, a house, a mortgage, and we kept trying to make it. And we had a regional hit when we were about Sue and I were in college, and it was #1 in San Jose, and we were going to San Jose State at the time, so that was pretty cool. And it was #1 in Sacramento and #1 in a couple other places, but in the Bay Area, and that really helped us out. We made a little money, and nobody bought a car, and everybody bought new equipment. I bought a new drum set. The guys bought amplifiers, and we invested every penny of it back into the band. And we thought the next one was going to be the one that that blew the roof off and would be a #1 in the nation. And it didn't fly, and so it was very disappointing. And so
that's a big risk. I mean, so did you lose? You didn't lose your shirts, did you? I mean, how did you? There must have been something in you guys that to pick your, dust yourself off and let's give it another shot.
We'd always done that. And
okay.
We'd always done that, and we did have a taste of it. So we came close that time. So that's as close as we've ever come, and let's keep it going. And then Stu and I were away at school, so we weren't in town to be as active as we had been in the past. And then so I could see the band starting to drift apart.
Oh.
And then Ed Sullivan brought the Beatles over to America, and we all went to a place where we could watch the Beatles, and we saw the Beatles play, and we went, if those guys from Liverpool can come over here and be that good and be that great, they're the same setup that we are, drums, bass, rhythm, lead guitar, we can do it too. And that was a huge, huge turning point for us, seeing the Beatles. And at that point, Stu graduated from college. He had came from his dad was a lawyer, and so he got a full ride. I had to work nights as a janitor to put myself to college, so I got about halfway done. But college was plan B for me anyway.
Yeah.
I wanted to do what the other guys in the band did, be in a successful band. So we said, okay, we can't do it as a part-time band. We have to go full bore, and it's going to be tough. And it was. We were broke. And we starved, and we used Tom's credit cards, and we get to the point where we had a sheriff's warning, and we put a little money on that card, and then we stretch the other one. Oh, anyway, this, and then that's at the point where Tom was the lead singer, and John was starting to get that voice, so he turned the vocals over to John. Actually, I think he suggested that John do that, and we continued on, and then Susie Q hit, and we were on our way. But Tom had always been supportive, and he had a sweet tenor voice like Richie Valens, and he could have done, cover songs. Well, anyway, John cut him off, said, don't send any material in that you've written. You're not singing on any songs. Just play rhythm guitar and like it, And we thought that was really wrong. The guy that made it happen and really looked after us and had the most to lose got thrown under the bus. So Stu and I always stood up for Tom, and that put us in the doghouse with John. And John insisted on being the business manager. Not a good idea. We never made anything more than the contracts we signed when we were teenagers. In fact, it got even worse than that. We got in a bad tax deal. No long story short, we kept telling him, you're a brilliant talent. You should be working on that. Just because you have genius type qualities over here doesn't mean you have genius type qualities in business. And Stu said, I have a degree in business and I'm not anywhere near. We need a pro. And we needed a pro for two reasons. Because John had gotten involved in fighting with Saul Zentz instead of trying to negotiate or get a negotiator to come in, a pro, to deal with the business.
Oh, yeah.
And so we needed somebody to take care of that. But we also needed a leader that would be able to mentor the brothers and patch that up and get moving. So and be strictly involved in music. He would take care of the business. It never happened. And it was always a point of contention between the rest of us. We said we betrayed him, we did this, we did that. We did not. We were quite honestly trying to save him, get him away from the combative situation he had with Saul, get back to what you love and what you do best. And to this day, he still carries that around. I'm 75. I don't carry that around anymore.
That's good.
I wish we could have it be different and we could all be close like we were when we were 13 years old, but it's not to be. And I'm moving forward. I have a chance now to show a side of me, as you said earlier, that I'm a singer songwriter, and I can handle that pretty well. I've got a record to prove it. And so that's what I'm focusing on now. And I wish John all the best of luck. I mean, I don't hold any animosity toward him, and but I can't say the same about him. So
Okay. Yeah. You're only speaking for yourself. That's fine. I got it.
Move forward, and
Yeah.
and also, keep prayers and good wishes to this world that's under this pandemic that is horrific.
Stand in the shower at the end of the day. Just about an hour, you'll be off on your way. Headed to the night spot where you're free from the light. Gotta find the right spot. There's one thing on your mind. Somebody love me tonight. I don't need perfection. Just treat me right. Treat me with real affection. Squeeze in the nightclub. It's packed to the walls. A place full of faces, and you look at them all. Look them over twice now. Not a one is a 10. Have a couple drinks then. Look them over again. Somebody love me tonight. I don't need perfection. Just treat me right. Treat me with love and affection. Everybody's hustling. The competition is tough. See him every night now. They just can't get enough. Tell the same old story. Nothing deeper is said. Tell them everything now. Just to get them in bed. Somebody love me tonight. I don't need perfection. Just treat me right. Treat me with affection. Somebody love me tonight. I don't need perfection. Just treat me right. Treat me with affection. Somebody love me tonight. I don't need perfection.
Are you, and also being a drummer, I know a lot of drummers extroverted, and then some of them are very shy and introverted. They only come to life when they're in the back there. But what is your, what's your personality like? Are you dealing with the pandemic in ways, or are you frustrated that you can't get out and do what you like?
Well, Stu Cook and I had a band called Creedence Clearwater Revisited.
Uh-huh.
Played all Creedence music all the time. We just finished our 25th year, and we, oddly enough, a year ago we decided to pack it in.
Mhm.
We've been touring for all this time. I have Parkinson's disease.
Oh,
It's not. It's slow. It's a slow mover, but I don't want to be on stage and not be able to finish a show. I also have 5 grandkids that are. I've missed a lot of birthdays over the years,
yeah.
and it's time. The travel's really it's really tough on me. And I've always been a guy that's been in shape.
Okay. Yeah, you can't fake that.
But it's just too much, and it's a good time to do this project now. And as far as going out and singing or doing something like that, I'm not going to be doing much singing because I had surgery on my throat and cauterized and a lot of other things, and I'm trying not to go out on the road. So my plan is I have all at least 6 albums that are finished with material, and other artists are involved in that. I even have Joe Satriani on a couple of the guitar tracks, Greg Douglas from Steve Miller on a couple of guitar tracks, on other records. So I have a different approach to it. I want to put the records out and support them with things like this podcast and
sure,
things like that, and then get the whole bunch of it out over time. So I'm going to be kind of like my own little record company with all my material, and so it's a publishing driven project. But this disease that's out there this is the real deal. I mean, this is like the Black Plague. It isn't the flu. I mean, this is very, very scary. A guy like me, 75 years old, and a preconceived conditions, that it doesn't look really, really rosy out there. So I don't think I'll be getting any airplanes anytime soon.
Yeah, that's tough. And maybe if you don't mind, Doug, I'll if I can confide in you in front of all these people. But I mean, Parkinson's is pretty close to me. That's what my dad has had for many years, and I don't know, how long ago were you diagnosed officially that you had this?
15 years ago.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, my dad's probably about maybe 18. Yeah, that's not too long ago. I know it can get to you. Whether or not you had the surgery on your throat, it might have been, or your vocal cords, it would have. I don't know. It probably gets to you in one way or another. The condition that you have probably gets that anyway. It's hard to get the words out sometimes.
I don't really think about it that way.
Good.
I think about it the other way. I've been so fortunate in my career to have had Creedence. That is so huge. We've made millions of people happy around the world, and continue to do so. We're picking up new generations of fans. We have more young fans than older fans. I mean, it's genuine love that we get from the fans, and so I have no complaints. And then to have revisited another 25 years added onto the career, with my old buddy, my best friend Stu Cook.
Yeah,
it doesn't get any better than that. So I have a smile on my face, and I consider myself very, very, very lucky.
I appreciate that you shared that. Creedence Clearwater Revisited. That's for those who were maybe haven't put it all together. What Doug was saying there, it's basically a revisiting of your old group. It's only you and Stu Cook, and then other musicians backing you up, right? And you went on tour.
Yes.
And that was back in what part of it was in the 90s, right?
We started in 95. The 25th year, and we did our last show just about a month or so before they shut down all the concert tours.
Oh, so even this year, 2020, you were still doing something before you decided it was over with, that you were going to stop.
Yeah.
But you chose to quit on your own terms. The pandemic didn't stop you. This was before all that went down.
It didn't stop me. And Steve Miller is one of my best friends as well. And we've been writing back and forth. And he had a 50-city tour booked, ready to go. He was very excited about it. Marty Stewart and on the bill, and Jerry Muledeer for a little comedy in there. And Steve said, what really bums him out is it's going to take 2 years away. He figures it won't be till 22 before he'll be back out, and he's kind of saying everybody will be in the same boat. He says it's taking 2 good years that I have left, and he says when I come back I'll be 78. So he's got to look at that. And the younger bands don't have that problem, but they probably don't have the resources either to. They're going to have to get day jobs and do other things, and I feel so badly for those folks, and I hope that they can find a way to hang on to their music, and make it work somehow.
Yeah, I love Steve Miller. I'm sorry that he's going through that too. I've talked to so many people that are going through having to change gears or trying to figure out what they're going to do with this great project that they were getting ready to unveil, and then they can't go out and promote it in the form of concert gigs and such like that. Were you planning to do something like that as well? Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
No, I wasn't. As I say, touring is over for me. Travel is what gets you. For that 90 minutes of joy and I mean, I can't explain to people what it's like to play in front of a packed house full of people that love you, and you're playing your very best show you possibly can every night because of them. It is a dream come true, and the dream continues for us. It continues for John as well. He's out playing. So it's when we started when we were 13. Our vision was to someday have our songs played on the radio. Well, it's 52 years we've been having our songs played on the radio, and it'll be playing on the radio when I'm long gone. So
that's great to know.
That's a neat thing, a legacy that none of us thought would happen when we were back there as teenagers.
Well, I was telling my wife about getting to talk with you, and we were just going over. One of the things I said in the intro is that we would play sometimes the 60 station or whatever, and I don't think you can go through an entire day without hearing a playlist with one of your songs on it. So it's like sometimes 3. I don't know that you had so many recognizable ones. If you just look at them in order, every album had something on it that everybody's going to hear on that radio, as far as Billboard charted pop hits from the rock era.
Well, I mean, the theory was that John had was that if we're ever off the charts, we'll be forgotten. Those are his exact words. I said, I don't know anybody that's ever done that. And Eric Clapton puts an album out, and then when it does its thing, it comes off the charts. And then he tours or does whatever else, and then a year later he'll put in a. So people don't forget him. And I went, down the line. All these people do it that way, but I have no problems making. As I say, we put out 3 albums in 1969. So what we would do is another thing that was sort of against the law of putting out singles. You would never put a single out before it was on an album. We did it all the time to bridge that gap, so we would always be on the charts. And say what they tell you is that single is going to drive the album sales. So you're going to lose sales if people buy the single and you don't put the album out for 6 months. But we did it, and we would have double-sided hits. So I call this the Roman candle of rock and roll. I mean, if you put a single out and then you have another single, that'll take up maybe 9 months or 6 months. But if you put a single out and there's 2 singles there, it's 3 months. So you have to really, you're behind all the time. So not only did we put out 3 albums in '69, but we toured behind them, including Woodstock. So that's. And then we did Ed Sullivan show twice. For the younger viewers, it was a television show, the #1 television show in the world. And Ed Sullivan was kind of a shy, odd fellow, to say the least. You go to YouTube and watch some Ed Sullivan.
Right. In case people were never familiar, he was a different kind of cat.
He was very good to rock and roll. He brought Elvis Presley, first guy to have Elvis Presley on television. I saw him when I was 11 years old in a restaurant. But what Elvis did is now it's nothing compared to what people do now. They're half naked on stage and they're doing bumps and grinds. And, back then Elvis wiggled his hips around and people freaked out. They thought it was immoral, and there was a lot of that going on too. So he had Elvis on, but he was blanked out from the waist down. Well, that did more for his career than his manner. That was brilliant. But the intention was not to do that. the intention was not to have Elvis get Ed Sullivan in trouble for doing that kind of hoochie coochie dance. So,
Yeah. So it wasn't all shock value and, you know, and trying to get, they were trying to protect themselves a little bit.
Yeah, that's what it was. But when I saw that, I said, I want to play rock. I want to be in rock and roll. I was buying the records as a kid, but I hadn't picked out an instrument yet. That came about 2 years after I saw Elvis.
Oh, okay. So you gravitated toward the drums. You didn't try anything else before that?
No, I was going to play saxophone, but people don't realize that in the 50s, there was bands had horn sections. There were a lot of saxophones, and it was a solo instrument. We didn't see many guitar solos out there in those days.
True.
We saw sax solos.
You sure did.
Yeah, I think I like the sax solo, but I'm so glad I didn't do that.
You could have been. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't because it was. I'm not saying it was a dime a dozen, but it was saturated. Those hits back then were saturated with saxophone solos, and it's almost like it was. I don't know if the people producing those records said, let's make sure we get a sax player in this one. You know,
they did.
Yeah.
They absolutely did.
And you know, just didn't make at the time you were making this album, Magic Window, back in '85. You know, there was sort of a revival of the tenor sax in a lot of hits back then too. You know?
Yes.
Besides the Simmons drum kit, or I mean the machines and everything, and I was like we were talking about earlier, the synthesizers that everything seemed a little bit homogenized and synthesized back then after a while, so that. And plus, they were putting out a lot more of these discs where they would remix them, and they would go on for, like a disco record that goes on for about 9 minutes or so.
Right.
So 8 or 9 minutes. So I know you had a little bit of that sound in this project that you were making back then. Did you say you wrote it with somebody else? We're talking about people that wrote songs with you. Did you have one guy that you were working with back then?
Well, I wrote with everybody that got involved in the recording. So
okay.
One fellow named Rob Polomsky, he did very little of the recording side. He was a local guy and played bars, and still does to this day. But he always had a hook line guitar hook, and it could only be like maybe 4 bars long. But from that, I would hear something, and I would go, okay, I'll either write it right now, or let me take this and put it up, and I'll think about it. Looking out the magic window of my studio. My studio was 1,000 feet above Lake Tahoe. Had a flawless view, and you're looking at it and across the forest and this magnificent alpine lake. That's the real magic window, and it was in the studio. So I wrote 4 of the 10 songs with Rob. I wrote 2 songs with Chris Solberg, who played bass on it, and 1 song with Russell DeShield, who played lead guitar. And Russell had his own projects, so I would have written more with him because he was living with me at the time, living with my family in the house. He was living in the studio, and kind of fell on some hard times. And the deal that I made with him, I said, you can live here, and we'll give you room and board, and I just want you to engineer when I need an engineer, but all the rest of the time, any downtime you have complete use of everything in the studio. And he was working on his own project, so that he said, "Oh man, what a deal! Of course I'll do that." So plus we had cocktail hour every night, and I bought his cocktails as well.
That's great. Well, good that so good feelings during that period of
terrific
time.
Period.
then you, what caused you to? I mean, maybe it sounds like you already covered this ground before, but why did you? All the songs, had they been completed before you decided to shelve them or put them away?
Yeah, they were mixed, and they were done, except they hadn't been mastered. But the mix just, we did everything. I had a nice mixing setup in the studio, and so they were finished. All I had to do is, if they were going to be released, I would master them. George Horn, the great George Horn, mastered this one, Magic Window. I've known him for over 50 years, and he's made some great mastering on a lot of hits, and he knows his way around mastering. And so, all the players were lined up. I didn't want to go so far as to master, because things change as time goes by. A perfect example is Magic Window.
Yeah.
We did everything there. It was a self-contained studio, and Russell was working on his project as well. And then I did 3 songs by myself on the album, but I'm a writer or a co-writer on every song. So it's as I said, it's a kind of a project driven by publishing.
Well, people are going to get to know all these songs as they listen to them one by one, especially this one called Just Another Girl. Pretty cool that I listened to that right away, because that's the one that seemed to be, I don't know, for lack of a better word, it's the next single, the first single off that album. Even though they don't do that anymore, it's all, let's all stream it or download it.
Old habits are hard to break.
Aren't they? Yeah. but
I did it really because I wanted to have something lead the album. I put the single out on the 10th of April, one of my grandkids' birthdays, and then on the 24th of April, which is my birthday, I put the album out. So it gave me a little time to throw a couple songs out there just to see what might happen. Just testing the waters. Yeah,
it follows the same basic theory I just discussed when you get a good single going and it leads you into the album, so that it attracts you to the whole album. And that's what this seemed to do. I like the other songs as well, but we're going to talk about that in just a second here. But I was curious about the songwriting aspect. When you made all these songs and you decided I'm gonna make some music and I'm gonna write it all or co-write it. What inspired you to write in the first place, and what were you writing about?
Well, Creedence never did any love songs, never did one, and so that's a major subject for songs, and has been since the beginning of instruments. So I wanted to do that, and I was able to do that in several different ways. In other words, to me, an album is like a book, and each song is a chapter. And there may be similarities in the chapters, but they can be completely different from each other. And for example, Just Another Girl, there are so many songs out there that are, love at first sight, and when I saw you, I dreamed about you that night, whatever. But this one is, first time that I saw you, you were just another girl. How was I to know then that you would change my whole world? So I start, the first verse kind of comes in from the back door. It's just, I didn't see it, but now I get it. So it changed it up a little bit from this sort of normal one. And then Don't Leave Me Alone Tonight, it's the guy's in love, and but he's afraid that if, the only thing that he's afraid of is that you'll be gone in the morning light, so don't leave me alone tonight. In other words, she's out of there before he probably gets up for coffee. So anyway, there are many subjects.
No, that's good. I'm with you. Who can argue with that? I love love songs, and and songs about being in love. I wrote them myself, so I understand that whole thing. What's your status on that? Are you a married man or what? What's your personal life, as far as that's concerned?
Well, it's great. I married my high school sweetheart. We just had our 52nd anniversary.
Oh, if I had a hat on, I'd tip it right now, but because that
Don't tip your earphones.
no, I'll do that right now. But yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I've been married to my high school sweetheart as well, and my folks have been married for as long as they, I like those type of relationships. Apparently, you found your right soulmate, to use an overused term. Yeah.
We saw a television show last night.
So you had a good reference point, from your heart to write love songs, because you were writing them back then. You had somebody to think of while you're doing that. So.
Absolutely.
First time that I saw you, you were just another girl. How was I to know then you would change my whole world? Put your loving arms around me. I can feel your love surround me. You ain't just another girl. You ain't just another girl. Suddenly you stood there with your bright eyes round me. Then I was your captain, and I'll be eternally. Put your loving arms around me. Baby, I'm so glad you found me. You ain't just another girl. You ain't just another girl.
What Born on the South Side? Maybe you could tell me a little bit about that one, because that has a little bit of a I'm not going to say more overused terms. It's a throwback a little bit. It sort of reminds you even the title, Born on the, it's like Born on the Bayou, Born on the South Side. Maybe you could tell me a little bit of a story if you could.
Sure.
Sure.
It's not an autobiographical story, but in some ways it is. In other words, I didn't have to change the names to protect the innocent because I didn't put anybody's name in there.
Uh-huh.
But born in the South Side, my family was poor. I slept on the back porch since I was 4. And it's got that Creedence beat, that would be me, thrown in there purposefully. And some of the guitar things are based in that. It's supposed to sing to a Creedence song that I have, and I did it on purpose, just because I do have a resume that says I'm the drummer for Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Yeah,
and still am. I'm in those records. I can't pull them out. So got that. Now, I wanted to do it just to put the other things around it. Say this is what I'm doing now, and I'm not the guy that's singing the lead for Creedence. We had, by the way, Don Clearwater, one of the best voices in rock and roll back in the day. He was my favorite singer. Elvis was close, but anyway, tip of the hat to John on that.
On the south side, my family was poor. Slept on my back porch since I was 4. I love the blues and rock was cool and country was so fine. I missed a lot of school. I played my records all the time. Had me a brother who taught me guitar. Had no idea it would take me so far. I played the blues and I was grooving. Music kept me alive. I missed a lot of school listening to the Motown style. I was a poor boy from the south side when I left my home with just a guitar and some fast moves. I took 'em out on the road. Out on the road. Top of the pop charts year after year. Only the hot spots I would appear. I paid my dues and still love the blues and that good old rock and roll. A little bit of each turned my records into gold. I was a poor boy from the south side when I left my home with just a guitar and some fast moves. Took 'em out on the road. I was a poor boy from the south side. No one knew my name, but just a guitar and some fast moves brought me fortune and fame. Out on the road, out on the road, I'm 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 out on the road, south side.
But I had this other side that it's totally me, and those songs wouldn't have fit in with what we were doing with CCR.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of different songs with subject matter. I've got one's a story about a kid on a fishing boat with his parents, and the boat goes down in a hurricane, and his dad takes a barrel that's half full of fish, empties it out, writes a quick letter, sticks it in his hand, stuffs him in the barrel, and seals it up, and lets the barrel go adrift. And it's a whole story. I could see it being a show could be made out of it for kids, maybe
Okay.
adults, since people are dying in it. So
Yeah.
Anyway, a lot of different things, especially then there's one of the first ones I wrote. My wife, every time they kid me about it. My kids as well. They mock me, if you will, and it's mockable.
Yeah.
Life in a hollow log, it's called. Life in a hollow log, just drifting to sea, moving down the river, what used to be a living tree. Life don't get me down because I'm feeling fine, rolling along under the sunshine. Anyway, so now you see why they mock me. Life in a hollow log. Everybody should try that once.
Yeah. No, and that song's not on Magic Window, by the way.
No, it is not. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. No, I'm no stranger to getting mocked by your kids. That's fine. I'm a bit of a square, so when they a lot of my artistic renderings, like making music or drawing or something like that, I never felt I got the respect from my kids that I was hoping for. But then again, I guess in the long run, who cares? It's your own personal expression, and they don't have to like it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As long as you're having fun.
Say that again.
About music is that it's an art. It's an art form, and Creedence had another reason why we were able to be so prolific is we had a policy of no drugs or alcohol during work, and that meant anything. I mean, it didn't mean just at a show or anything. It meant every day that we would come down to practice or Don was looking for material, we would jam, didn't matter. Anything that had to do with music, nothing going on. On your own time, whatever.
Oh, good.
We weren't much in it. We didn't fit in with our peers in San Francisco. Let's put it this way.
Oh, yeah, true.
They
Yeah.
laughed at us and called us the Boy Scouts of rock and roll.
Oh, I can understand that. Yeah.
Said we'd never make it playing that kind of music.
Well, I respect that. So you had a situational work ethic back then. So that's good. That makes me. I always wondered about little things like that. It's obviously other groups. You played at Woodstock, for crying out loud. I don't think there were. Not everybody held that same philosophy or that because they obviously the people in Santana, I think they would et cetera, Canned Heat, some of those other people that were part of that. Yeah, I was always curious about that because of having grown up at that time, and it just seemed like everybody was using, they were turning on back then, and maybe in your personal life. Probably, but it's nice to know that when you held the band together, you didn't have that distraction or that to be under the influence of something while you're trying to create music and play it for everybody.
Well, a lot of that was going on, and my view on it was I wasn't there to judge. I was there to play, and we didn't, as I say, we weren't really accepted much by our peers. There were a few guys that. Were just cool. The guys in Santana, got to know those guys pretty well. Dave Garibaldi from the Tower of Power. We just got to talk to him 2 weeks ago. He's going nuts, not being out playing. And there's some other guys, and one of the band guys, Spencer Dryden, who was the drummer for the Jefferson Airplane. There was a 20-year reunion at the Fillmore Auditorium. That was the venue that it was a cool venue.
Yeah.
And he came up to me and he said, I got to tell you something. I said, yeah? What's that? And he said, how we used to put you guys down and say you're just a singles band, and you're selling out to AM radio and Boy Scouts of rock and roll, all that stuff. I said, yeah, I remember. And he said, well, the truth be known, we were so jealous of you guys because we would try and try and try to make a single. We could never do it, and you guys were putting them out double-sided. So it was more out of envy that we put you down. I just wanted you to know that. I said, "Wow, thank you. That's pretty cool."
That's good. So did you form Did you form friendships with people like these from other groups, and like you said, you knew You know,
Steve Miller and I've been friends for years. I've been projects with Steve. He's just a great guy and a very smart guy and a very, very talented guy. So Steve, for sure, not too many. And the other thing too is, you know, we were married and we were having kids, and so, you know, we weren't going to be going
Right.
over to the Haight Ashbury and hang out. So we were different. We were an East Bay band, you know. We're from the blue collar side of the Bay Area.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so you're basically in that area where you all grew up, Richmond or something in that area up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
El Cerrito.
My kid worked down in Richmond for a time. He's up in Vallejo, so you know.
Sure.
I love going up to the Bay Area when we can, but you know, don't have many excuses other than him. So it's some of those. I was never part of. I would have loved to see some of those places aren't there anymore. Like what was it? Purple Onion was up there or something, and you're talking about the Fillmore. You know, all those.
The Fillmore's still there. I think they still do gigs there. They renovated it, and I played in it a few times. But it's been a long time.
Well, as far as my age, you know, you said you just turned 75. I was born at that time that the Beatles came out on Sullivan. So I was having been born in '64. I still have you know, recollection of you know, buying records in the store, 45s, and watching some of these concerts, and I always had this vision of all these clubs being these huge venues, you know, like a giant room, and some of these places are little holes in the wall. They have history and everything, but I was shocked, you know, even the ones you see here on Sunset Boulevard, Whiskey a Go-Go, et cetera, they're tiny little places, and I didn't realize that until I actually set foot in one of them. You know, Fillmore's like that, right? It was a tiny place.
It was pretty small, but I mean, Bill Graham never tore a ticket, so he used to pack them in there. Yeah, and I think he had to deal with the fire marshal.
You mean overcapacity, or like they could pack the crowd in, you know? Yeah. Hungry for Your Love is one of these that was I like that one, and you mentioned that before we came on here. What's is that just another love song to add to the mix, or?
Well, it's more of a kind of a Rolling Stones thing. Hungry for Your Love like an animal. It's locked up for days.
Yeah. That's a good line.
You know, so it's a little rougher type of love song.
Yeah.
I'm hungry for your love like an animal, locked up for days. You stay out of reach while I'm out here on the streets. Go ahead, have it your way. What you got to lose? Nothing if you stop and think about it for a while. You're so hard to teach, I don't really want to preach. I just want to see your smile. Mysterious woman, shrouded in your coat.
and you mean
You
so
stay
much.
out of reach while I'm out here on the streets. Go ahead, have it your way. So
Yeah.
it's a little rougher. You know, it's, again, like I say, love can be on every chapter, but it's a different kind of love in every chapter.
Well, shoot, you know, I appreciate. Usually, I don't go with any real notes or questions. I just like to try to, you know, go where the wind takes me here with, you know, when I'm talking with you. And I sure appreciate all the, you know, the historical references that you, you know, to your older days of you know, playing in your junior high band. What was the name of that band that you were with Stu and or with Tom? I mean,
The Blue Velvets.
the Blue Velvets.
Yeah.
Sounds.
And then when Tom was, we were backing up Tom. It was Tommy Fogarty and the Blue Velvets.
Oh, okay. So it was one of those things. Yeah, that's another one of those. You could have a group and then have the. Did he see himself as the lead of the band? Is that why? Was Tom the leader of that band?
Well, he was when he was with us.
Okay.
And usually that was a recording thing. We didn't do too many outside gigs. It was usually working in the studio.
Uh-huh. Let me see if I can. I'll throw in one more song for people to listen to. You Mean So Much to Me. That's what you sort of end up the album with.
Yeah.
Why did you choose? Did you choose the order of these, by the way, how they would be played, or?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Why did you choose that one to end up the album? Is it sort of sum up?
Well, it's different than the rest of the record, and it's a slow power ballad.
Yeah.
It's big. A lot of I go from the right of the click stick during the verses to the big snare drum during the choruses. It's a song about a broken love and why that happened, because their communication failed, and all they had to do was, you know, say, "You mean so much to me. You are my everything." And so you have to communicate that in a relationship, and you know, their love was strong, yet it didn't make it. And, so
very cool.
The thing that I when I got married, the Reverend said, you know, if I can give you any advice, if you happen to do that. In other words, say that, keep that between you. The spark. If you happen to be going by a flower shop and you see a red rose or a bouquet of flowers that catches your eye, don't just drive by it. You're thinking that, stop by and pick that up and take it home, give it to your wife. And you know that was pretty good advice. And so, you know, we have our now we have roses growing in the yard, so it makes it pretty easy.
Yeah. And that's always good advice. I do that stuff with my wife. That's a good key to longevity. Just keep it up. It never ends. So you want to make you want to just. I always wake up every day and think of what else can I do for my wife? You know, just a little token. And it's been a long time too. So not as long as you though. You.
Well, we went steady for 6 years. So it's been 58 years we've been together.
Wow.
Married 52.
Yeah. Don't let me overstate that. That's just wonderful. But I just wanted to say I appreciate you that you're one of those people.
Oh, thank you.
I heard a story yesterday, a broken love, heartache and pain. Communication slipped away when all it was they had to say. You mean so much to me. You're my everything. You mean so much to me. That's how it ought to be. Every day I spend with you is better than the one before. was strong, yet it died. Simple thing they had to say. You mean so much to me. You're my everything. You mean so much to me. That's how it ought to be. Every day I spend with you is better than the one before. The love we share is ours alone. We don't need anything more. The story told to me was true. Don't let the same thing happen to you. It's a simple thing you have to say. You mean so much to me. You're my everything. You mean so much to me. You mean so much to me. That's how it ought to be. Every day I spend with you is better than the one before. The love we share is ours alone. We don't need anything more. You mean so much to me. You mean so much to me. You mean so much to me.
Speaking of, we're talking about drums, and you guys sort of, you and Stu sort of putting it to rest for good, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you still have a drum set in your house, and do you play still to amuse yourself or keeping?
I do. Right now we're in Arizona. That's our winter home.
Mhm.
I live in Lake Tahoe area, so I don't like snow. I've shoveled plenty of it,
Yeah,
and it's just, I like warm weather, so we're in the warm weather right now.
good.
And,
Yeah, you can shovel cactus stuff.
There's-
Then, I guess, yeah.
yeah, I have an indigenous yard. So there's a lot of cacti out there. Gotta be careful when you bend over in certain places in my yard because you're gonna get stuck. No question
great.
about that.
What would be the major city that you're around? Where is it? In Arizona.
I'm in Scottsdale.
Oh, okay.
But back to your question,
Go ahead.
most of my houses are on golf courses, and I haven't played golf in 5 years, so because I had my shoulder reconstructed,
Oh,
30 million eighth notes. So
you live long enough, these things will happen to you. So I understand. Yeah.
yeah, and, it was inevitable. I play hard, and things wear out. But they fixed it, and I didn't miss much time. So, but I have electronic drums in the house, V drums they're called, and they have a little computer on them, and they're rubber, little round things, and has a foot pedal and bass drum and all of that. Those have actual drum heads on them. That they're made of a material that don't make noise.
Uh-huh.
So at my big house in Reno, Tahoe area, I have them hooked up to speakers, so big ones, and so I'm overlooking a green. What my studio is, people. That's what people putt, and I'll look out and see who's coming up playing, getting ready to putt. And if it's somebody I know, I open the doors, turn those speakers up, and started playing a drum solo just about the time they're standing over the ball to putt. I look up at them, and but then they love it. I ran into one of these guys one point, and he said, "Where were you Tuesday? I thought you sure wishing you that you would have been home." I said, "Well, I wasn't. I was out. I think I was on the road." "Why?" He says, "Well, my brother came up and we're playing golf, and I told him that you lived in this house, and that whenever I come by, you play a drum solo." I said, "I'm not home all the time waiting around to play a drum solo for you."
Well, you don't owe anybody anything, but that's nice. That's nice that you're doing. I'm glad that you're still doing that. I mean, that's got to be good for your soul. You know, you don't want to give that up permanently.
No, I play every day.
Yeah.
You know, and I play with other people. I put CDs on for whoever I want to play with that on any given day. So
Awesome.
I do that, and then I have these things, exercises without music accompanying. But I like to play songs with other musicians. So
so you
got
can't
my
do that.
Got my CD collection going. Can't do it with acoustic drums.
No, yeah.
I
But
can
you have
get up at 2 a.m. and put my headphones on, turn the speakers off, and I can work stuff out if I want to, or just if I can't sleep, play a little bit. Off I go.
You basically
So
have.
I have a set in each house,
Oh, okay.
so I can, you know, I don't miss a day that way.
Well, that's good to know. It's just one of those typical ones you can put the headphones on. You hit a piece of rubber, as opposed to the tom and the snare. Excuse me. Yeah.
Well, they're little round drums, and they have the little actual material heads on them, so it has the feel of a drum head. So you're not hitting hard rubber.
Yeah.
And you can tune them, but they don't. It doesn't really change the sound much because the sound is being triggered by a computer. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Does it tune just as well as a regular?
To have a feel that it feels most like what your acoustic drum would be when you're playing out.
Yeah, and I imagine you had to tune your real drums a lot to get it to sound the way you wanted. Yeah.
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 And then there's also 50 different programs, so I sometimes just want to play some like outer space music. I can do that. I've got some really weird programs on there. Woo!
I was just thinking of, you know, when you have the electronic that you could tune it and you could set it and forget it. It wouldn't go out of, you know, it'll remember everything, and you don't have to go back and fix it when you.
Well, that's right. I have a program that I do set it to, and that's when I'm, you know, practicing. I want it to sound like I'm playing on an acoustic drum set. But like I say, every once in a while I'll get in there and change things around and have some really strange stuff. It's really fun.
You're going to hear a little bit of that in your new album, Magic Window. As we were saying, it's got a little bit of that, not overdone, but you can hear the electronic effect in the drums that you're playing on there, and it does have a very a retro 1980s feel, which is it's only natural to have it that way, because that's when you recorded those tracks, it should sound like that. You don't want to try to update it for the times. Why should you? It's got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've been hearing some Simmons drums on. So every once in a while, I listen to the radio and spin around and check out different genres of music. And
Yeah.
They're throwing Simmons in there now.
You recognize it.
Yeah, I'm kind of going, hey, wonder if that guy was listening to my record.
I don't know if you caught it on network TV, or you probably saw it on the internet. Did you happen to catch that Charlie Watts was playing with the boys, and he had these aero drums or whatever, those little sticks? Where people kept talking about that. I don't know if they ever confirmed that's what he was doing, but people were going like, "What's he doing? Playing on a milk crate? What is this bull crap?" You know?
It's a milk crate.
Yeah, but I mean, he was actually using electronic ones, right? So that's the sound that was coming was actually generating from those drumsticks that he was playing. You know, I think anyway.
Yeah, I saw him, and a lot of these things are plywood boxes, and they have little slits in them for different sounds, and they're used a lot in Latin American music.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool, and it sort of got a lot of buzz.
You did a good job. I loved it.
It was actually one of the best, performances on that whole billing or whatever that they decided to do. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Maybe because I liked seeing the older groups, especially ones that have a lot of their members still around. So that's great. I guess I should let you get back to your, whatever your day is like over there in Arizona. But I sure appreciate the time you spent. And
my pleasure, Dean. I enjoyed it.
Doug Cosmo Clifford is DougCosmoClifford.com is what I was trying to say. That's your site, and people can go download or check out Magic Window, which has check out the single, for lack of a better word, Just Another Girl, and all the other 9 songs are really great stuff. I was enjoying it. And what does Cosmo mean? How'd you get that moniker or that nickname?
That was from my college days. They called me Clifford C. Clifford. Now, I don't know the origin of that.
Just a thing, yeah.
But anyway, I had a background of entomology as a kid. So that's the study of insects. And I went from butterflies to colony insects. Colony insects are pretty fascinating. And there's a collective intelligence within a group of brainless creatures. And it's amazing what they're able to do. Wasps, bees, ants, and termites. Those are the colony insects. Well, anyway, we lived in the animal house, and we had roaches and ants big time because we had no adult supervision in the house. And the ants had always been there. They'd send exterminators out. They could never get rid of the ants. So we had a meeting, and they were all complaining about the vermin. I said, I'll get rid of the vermin, but you guys have to clean up after yourselves. That's just the way it goes. Yeah. Can you do that? Yeah, we'll do that. So back then, you could buy the most lethal poison by the gallon at hardware stores. And so I went in and bought my gallon of Double D, whatever it was. And I got my loaf of bread, and I made my loaded bombs, and I strategically placed them around the house. And took 2 weeks. I knew it would. It takes a while for it to filter down to the queen. And we were bug free. So we were at a party, toga party, I think, something silly. And somebody yelled out, "Hey, Clifford C. Clifford, what does the C stand for?" Before I could respond, the first hippie in the house said, "It stands for Cosmo because he's cosmic. He's a man of nature." And it's stuck ever since. And Creedence Clearwater Revival, Clearwater is an Olympia beer commercial, but it's also about the environment. And that's my input to the band.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was talking about cleaning up the environment and things that you can do and not do well before it became popular and people became aware of it.
Well, thank you for that, because the Clearwater, all that, diehard fans and rock historians, they all know that stuff. But all I know is that I enjoyed that music, and I enjoyed your group, and it was a lot of fun to listen to, and it's even more satisfying to hear that you did something, and because I know what it's like to finally finish a project or unearth something and put it all together, and you still had the wherewithal to complete it and put it out there, and so everybody can hear it. And I hope it gets a lot of attention, Doug. Really, I do.
I do too.
I understand. It's a weird time to be doing this. I mean, I don't know how you planned on spreading the word other than the internet, because you're probably, whether this pandemic happened or not, I don't know what your plans would have been to, since you're not going to tour and play in front of people. But do you ever get out and or did you ever get out and besides the touring, have you ever did meet and greet so the fans can talk to you and
oh sure
things like that? Yeah,
well, that's all part of it.
That must have been fun. I would have liked that, but that's not going to happen nowadays for a lot of people. So I really hope. Okay, before I wrap up, there's a question I was saving for the end, but for the record, everybody go to DougCosmoClifford.com. I'll put it on my site so everybody knows where to go and check out Magic Window, a fantastic album created by Doug and his friends 35 years ago, but just completed today. So, I don't know the exact date, but it's out there now, so that's all you need to check out, and check out all 10 songs on it besides Just Another Girl. And I really enjoyed it. But here's the question at the end, okay? Since we were talking about the concept of pick yourself up, dust yourself off, start all over again. In that vein, is there anything that for other songwriters and musicians that they want to be successful and have a good positive attitude, but I don't know if you were aware of it, but a lot of us artistic musician types, we can get into moods where we get down, and maybe it's you don't see the way up right away. Is there any kind of advice you might be able to tell these people? Tell them that everything's going to be okay. You know, keep moving on, keep on keeping on, all that stuff.
Well, use your art to climb out of the abyss. And some of the best songs have been written. Look at the blues. When people were down, I mean that's a whole genre that's written. You're writing misery. The key to it is to have that, befriend it. In other words, to take it and make it a strong piece of music, and get strength from it that way. That's one way. Then the other way is always remember that somebody else has it a lot worse than you do, and stay focused on your music. And another way to avoid misery, don't give up your copyright. Don't give up your copyright. Hold on to that intellectual property. Copyright your songs. Hang on to your babies.
That's good advice. Thank you. Just as a side note, what was your songwriting contribution to CCR? Was it just were you part of the songwriting of all four of you, or just John, or who was doing most of that?
After Tom left the band and we were a trio, we got an ultimatum from John that the next album, each one of us had to do a third of the songwriting and the singing.
Oh, good.
We didn't want to do that.
That wasn't your thing. You didn't really want to
have
that assignment.
Not with a gun to your head. Anyway. So we had to do it, and then we took the hit for the band breaking up. But he said we insisted on doing that. We never did. But that's another story.
No, that's fine.
I'll forgive him for that, because like I said, wallowing in the mud that doesn't smell good is not half as much fun as getting in the mud that smells like chocolate. So,
That's a good one. I wasn't trying to take this down from the direction you would just put us on a nice high note, and I almost spoiled that. But I want to thank you so much here. Let me say goodbye for the air, and one more at the end, so I can say goodbye for real. John, I mean, not John. You're not John. You are Doug Cosmo Clifford. See, I get dry mouthed, and that's why I have to keep drinking. I apologize for that. Doug Cosmo Clifford. It's really been a treat, and it's been an honor to have you on the show. And thank you for all those stories, and thank you for Magic Window. I'm glad that you completed it so we could hear it. I love it. I really do.
Just to go back a little bit, what you were talking about, songwriting. I was not going to put it out because of the pandemic, but then I thought about it, and I said, "What music for me is medicine." I do a lot of meditating when I'm in a project, and there's love in these songs for sure. So I'm putting the love out to people. They might play one of the songs and feel better. And that's, it's medicine. It works like that for me. and not just my son. Music in general has always done that. I've always gravitated towards that. It's always made me through my life. When I went through rough times, leaving home when I was in high school, and all of these kinds of things, music gives you a lift. So there's my lift.
That's wonderful. Appreciate everybody involved to make this happen. It was a treat. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
Okay.
Good work.
Let me let you off here, and I'll have her get in touch with you, and that's about it. So.
Sounds good.
All right. All the blessings on you. All my best. You take care of yourself. Okay. Bye-bye now.
Good evening.